Hey guys, it's Bob Ferngren and I'm back with another 8-minute video on network marketing. Now today, I'm going to take you in a little different path. I think it's important to be truthful who you are, just like social media marketing, right? Like, who are you? What are you all about? You need to be clear, like transparent who you are, right? And when you're transparent with who you are, you'll attract your tribe. So I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I say that with no shame. I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. So because I'm in line, the best I can, I'm human, with biblical principles and the teachings of Christ, I absolutely believe that everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. This is just a temporary gig. The rest is permanent. And since I believe that everything's spiritual, and again, you may not have ears to hear, this may not be the message for you. I hope and pray that it is. And if this is curious to you, then I would reach out to someone that's a follower of Christ and maybe ask some more questions. Certainly you'll learn the freedom there is in Christ. But, so if everything's spiritual, meaning all of our battles are spiritual, fixing our battles in the spiritual realm fixes them in the physical realm. When you pray, right, you may not see the results, but fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. That's kind of a cool thing, isn't it? The fervent prayer of a righteous person avails much. Righteousness just means right standing with God. You get that through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Again, you might not have ears to hear, and you may have already turned this off, so I could be just talking to believers. But if there are non-believers out there, just seek truth. That's all you have to do. So, there's 3 things I know in the spiritual realm that can block you. For sure. Number 1 is you got to be grateful. You've got to be grateful for what you have right now in order to get more. You have to be grateful for what you have right now in order to get more. And I'm going to talk more about these in the next 3 videos. Number 2, you have to give without expecting to get, because of this little secret, the law of sowing and reaping. Sowing and reaping is a law of God that is unbreakable. Whatever you're sowing, you're going to reap, right? So if you're freely giving, you will freely be given. It's kind of a cool thing. I call it the God game. The more you give, the more you get, and then you're expected to give more. And so you give more, and then guess what? You get more. And it just keeps going on. You can't outgive God, right? And when you give, especially to the poor, it's like giving to God. And he says he never fails to repay. So you got to give. Gratitude, giving, and then I think this is the toughest one, forgiveness. What a blocker being in a state of unforgiveness. It's a blocker. It's actually a jailhouse. You're actually in a jailhouse, and you put yourself there, and you own the key to get out. Now, what do I mean by that? Listen, people are horrible. Some people are just like criminally horrible. And things can happen to all of us. Have heard bad words spoken over us. Some of us have been physically abused. Some of us had terrible parents. Some of us had terrible teachers. Many of us had terrible coaches. Oh my gosh. I can remember so many bad coaches. Geez, don't get in the game if you don't love what you're doing. But obviously there's many great coaches, many great teachers, many great parents. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just that people tend to hurt people, right? And so that's a human condition. And so the unhuman condition, the spiritual condition, is to forgive. Now, weirdly, forgiveness gets you out of the jail. Chances are whoever offended you, whatever happened to you, whatever slight that you feel, whatever perhaps horrible thing that happened to you, that person that did it to you, that was allowed to do it to you maybe, they're not even thinking about it. This could have happened when you were a child. And you've heard this term, many people walk around like victims. Now, listen, I'm not telling you to forget. You probably won't ever forget. But finding that heart of forgiveness for whoever's wronged you. I've got stories to back this up, but I'll give you one in related to forgiveness. Been married twice. First one lasted a long time. And quite frankly, through not being the right type of a husband, and I'll take all the blame. I'm the spiritual leader of the house, and wasn't great. Let's just leave it at that. And that marriage failed, but in the process of that marriage failing, I really didn't want to get divorced. I wanted to get it right. I wanted to make it right, and it couldn't happen. It just couldn't happen. We're friends now. Terrific person, have nothing but positive thoughts about my ex. But man, I had the worst 3 years of my life. His businesses had failed and different things. And finally, after ducking and weaving that whole divorce thing, I finally came to by the way, I didn't have a lawyer, which put me at risk of losing everything with just a signature of a pen. So I finally agreed to meet with my ex and her lawyer. And, it was emotional. Days away from possibly losing everything. Wouldn't even know most of you if that happened. And I just looked at her and I said, I forgive you. And I meant it. And obviously marriages fail because of both people, sometimes more so on one side than the other. But I said, I forgive you. And I remember, it was physical. I'm telling you, what I experienced was an emotional reaction that turned physical. There were a ton of bricks lifted off my head. And suddenly everything went smoothly and went properly the way that it had to go legally for that divorce to happen. And I remember I almost couldn't drive home after getting out of the jail that I had been in for years. The guilt that I felt, the shame that I felt. But I said, I forgive you. And I had a big event that night, and I go home and I'm literally spent emotionally, holding on to that unforgiveness for 3 years. I had no idea how crushing it was. I became a different person instantly when I got out of jail, the unforgiveness jail. So now let's wrap all this up. You control being grateful. You can make a list. I make a list every day. I think of and I speak out loud, and I write out all sorts of things I'm grateful for. 99% are the same every day because I'm grateful for what I have right now. Giving. You can start anywhere. Well, I don't have money. But in the Bible it talks about the greatest giver of all was this woman who had like 1 penny, and she gave it all. So listen, it isn't about trying to make you do something. It's about the feeling you have, right? This is all law of attraction stuff, by the way. So you got to give without expecting to get. And sometimes giving is more your time than your money. I'm going to talk more about it. And then forgiveness. Guys, there's people listening to me right now. You have to find forgiveness. Doesn't mean you need to hang around with them. Sometimes the person that you're holding something against is dead. Forgive them. Let yourself out. Release yourself. Do you know that if you master, well, if you continually work on, we're humans, that's a better way to say it. If you continually work on giving, gratitude, and forgiveness, you're in the freedom lane. And when you're in the freedom lane, when you feel good, because you're not holding on to the wrong things, you're giving up the wrong things, and you're really honoring things that are above. I'm going to talk more about forgiveness, gratitude, and giving, but these, when you get really focused on these three, amazing life and our business breakthrough happens. Hey, let's go.